Well, we return today for the excitement of the Premier League dream at Luton Town. I would be getting excited, I would be looking forward to this, but in truth, it's been a brutal summer with next to no budget, with next to no wage bill compared to the rest of the league. We've had to skimp a bit, and unfortunately, we've not been able to get the targets we wanted, and I've ended up panic buying near the end. This could be a pretty troublesome season. Let's go and enjoy it either way. Yes, hello, and welcome along to part 19 and the Premier League transfer special from this FM06 Let's Retro Save with Luton Town. We are back for our first Premier League match in just our third season after a remarkable playoff campaign last time around. We're going to start the season against Charlton Athletic on the 11th of August, but before that, we've got transfer news, we've got summer news generally, and we've also got to reflect on what we're going to do with our squad this year, which includes a pretty big tactical change. So hopefully you're looking forward to all of that. If you are, please do chuck a thumbs up on it. I know a lot of you have been looking forward to this one. I've got to be honest with you though, it's been a really difficult summer. We start a little bit earlier on the 20th of June because that's the date where all of the main messages came through and we found out who we were going to be facing first. And if you noticed after the Charlton game, it's a pretty tricky start. Chelsea and Tottenham, the two games after that. Let's start though by having a look at the screen that matters most, the inbox, because as you can see, the bank balance has shot up, the wage budget has shot up. I say shot up, which it has by our standards, but still that's basically not much more than John Terry's earning as Chelsea's top earner. So it doesn't give us a huge amount to play with there. But if we go and have a look through at the messages, we have had a pretty interesting time. The board are pleased with our performance as manager. You'd like to think so after promotion. And we finally got an update on a transfer budget, which is better than the 500 grand we had, but is now just 2.9 million. And my thought process is to compete in the wage compartment, I'm probably going to have to allocate a bit more there. So maybe look at sort of 140 or 150, which leaves us just over 2 million to spend. In fact, we'll do 140. So I think that's where we're going to go. 2.3 million is not a lot for the Premier League. It's probably a good job that we've got 3 or 4 players coming in on a free, albeit some of those are for the future. What we have got though is 13.75 million for TV rights. Put into perspective now, it's about 88 million, isn't it? That's the difference just 15 odd years ago. The stadium expansion plans are going up by 5,250, so a bit more than they did in real life. Will take 6 months to complete and means that for the first half of season, we're actually going to have less of a capacity than we do normally. However, there are sponsorship deals coming in worth more. There's more income coming to the club. And I'm kind of at a balance here because I've been trying for a few weeks as we get to the 20th of June to improve the squad. I know the players we've got coming in, but I'm not managing to get anything over the line. I'm getting pipped to all the free agents. I'm getting beaten to transfers. And even then, if I end up doing it on transfers for 2.3 million, I might get 2 players at first team level if I'm lucky. So do we sort of take the hit and plan for the long term? Do the old Burnley approach under Sean Dyche, go down, come back up, then do it again? The risk of that, of course, is that you do what Luton do in real life, which is go down and then possibly end up going down again as well. But I just think that if we can't get the targets I really want, do we panic and go all out for players that might not suit us? Or do we try and build for the future and aim to be an established Premier League side 2 seasons down the line? We'll find out the answer to that as we go along. But the big news is money into the club, stadium expansion, and lots of players still staying. Most of the contract situations are sorted. Most of the players you know are still there in the middle of June, and we've not had any offers yet. So let's skip ahead to the start of the season and see what the rest of the transfer window brings, especially once all the other free agents join and push up that wage bill a bit further. Well, here we are returning for the opening day of the season, and I said that we'd sort of panicked a bit, and we have. But as you can see, we've not gone big on the wage bill, and I've made a couple of conscious decisions. Of course, there were some free agents we'd already agreed, the likes of Henrik Pedersen, for example, Sean Maloney, another, but he doesn't really fit into this camp as much. But what I decided is after a month of missing out on so many targets, missing out on people due to work permits, so like Aaron McQuenna from Blackburn, who would have been a great signing, couldn't get a work permit, missed out on a good 4 or 5 to other clubs in the Premier League or across Europe. What I decided was we're going to target younger players, and it doesn't matter if we spend our budget on them. We end up spending a lot of money on 1 or 2 players. but I want them to be people who are going to improve or not get any worse. So at least we've got a resale value. I don't think we've got much hope of staying up because we've not been able to do a lot of business. And in fact, bar the ones we'd pre-agreed deals for, I think we've only actually signed 2 players. So we are limited a little. We've got 2 million remaining on the budget. We've sold people, which has got the season budget up, but we're not able to get all the deadwood out the squad. And I think that some of our business is going to be late panic buys, which is going to make it a lot harder to settle the squad and judge it for the season. Marry that with a tactical change and with the fact we're playing completely out of our depth in the Premier League. This is going to be a very tough start to the season. We're up against a very solid side in Charlton, managed by Andy Kirbishley in this universe where they didn't stupidly get rid of him. So let's start by having a look at the transfer news before we get on to what that's done to the tactics. So if we start with the players out, we've managed to get money for 2 people. One of them a slight gamble in terms of a departure, but again, the younger players have got sell-ons, so I'm not as worried about that. 2 youngsters have left the club, but the first teamers, Enoch Shawunmi, is out, I'm afraid, to Brentford. The fact that he's gone to a League One club probably tells you where they are and where he is as a pro. But 525 grand with a sell-on as well. He's not scored for them in his first 2 games. He's a very good player. He's got all the attributes that should make him a superstar, but it didn't really work for him at championship level. So to do it at the Premier League would probably be asking a bit much. In his time with us, he scored 3 league goals in 38 appearances. And in the cup, he scored 1 other goal. It's not a great record, in fairness. So hopefully a chance for him to go and be a hero elsewhere and a good sum of money for us. Rob Beckwith was the other one, with McGregor, with Lee Grant, and with a new goalkeeper coming in as well. Rob Beckwith was a man who wanted to go. He had 1 year left on his deal. So when we got an offer of 250 grand and a sell-on clause, I felt it was too good to refuse. He's got potential, but not good enough to be as good as the other 2. So there was no point keeping him around. Rob Beckwith moves on and will hopefully get some football again in the lower leagues of the EFL. His first choice in League 2 this season. Might not be a bad thing for him. So those are the players that have left the club permanently. We haven't managed to loan anyone out yet. Seems to be an issue across the board, where it happens quite late on in the window. We saw that last year as well. But let's go back to the players who have come into the club, because it has been a very interesting summer. This is my list of transfers. 1 huge signing financially, 5 other players in permanently, all of whom you knew about. 2 of them were signed very early on with the championship in mind, but we'll manage with it. And then we've also got a loan signing in a minute as well. So the first player in you knew about, Floribert Ngalula. Ideally, I'd like to loan him out, but he is a good young player for the future. I actually remember back in FM06, I had a save where I ended up in a journeyman at United and he was a first teamer there. So I know the potential's in the locker. It's just whether he's going to get the football for us. If we'd been in the championship, he almost certainly would have. But a good player, hopefully one for the future. Henrik Pedersen is our Steve Howard replacement. Pace of 11. I really undersold him when replying to some of your comments. He is fantastic. And at 32, he's still got a lot to offer. He's got, crucially, an awful lot of Premier League experience with Bolton. Not played as much the last 2 seasons, but over 60 games at this level. That is going to be huge for us. And in fact, he had 2 other seasons as well. So plenty of game time for him. And he'll be a really good foil for Steve Howard. Not sure I'll be brave enough to play them both together, but he's definitely going to offer us something. The other youngster to come in, who annoyingly isn't a centre-half in this game, is Johan Giroud. Another one with potential for the future. Another one I'd like to loan out, but at the moment, again, just playing on potential. A bit like we did with Kerrier Gilbert last summer, and hopefully we get some instant money out of it. The one that I kind of regret a bit, was sort of planned at the start of January last year with the championship in mind, was Michael Doyle. He comes in from Coventry, probably as immediately an emergency backup. He's a good pro. He's a very good player physically. He's solid across the board, but he's a championship player, and that's what we'd signed him to be. The one after that is where we've started to panic, because the last couple of weeks, we've gone big. We knew we had Sean Maloney coming in from Celtic, who still building up his fitness, but he's a good player. Ideally a number 10, but can play up front. Allows us to go a bit more aggressive in games off the bench, because we can take off our holding midfielder, chuck on a number 10, or we can put him on as a second striker if we have those injuries or a lack of goals to Feeney, Morgan, etc. But it's the one position I'm really annoyed we couldn't get that big improvement. I do hope, though, that Sean Maloney will make us a profit in the future. The money on most of the budget, though, has gone on one man, and we needed a centre-half. I wanted it to be Aaron McKenna. I'm not going to lie about that. Unfortunately, We didn't get that deal over the line due to a work permit issue. So Anton Ferdinand comes in after Danny Higginbottom rejected us and two or three others that I can't think of the names of now for 1.7 million. So I go back to my defined what I'm allowed to panic on sort of strategy, which is young players who are going to improve. He's 21. He's an under 21s England international. He's much quicker than any of the defenders we've got, which I thought was really important. He's been playing for West Ham a little bit in the Premier League. He's got experience. And he's also pretty good across the board in the areas we need. Perhaps not as good mentally or technically as the likes of Coyne, Heikkinen, Basagno, O'Brien, but he's really got it physically. And according to the match report, or the team report, sorry, he is one of the best centre-halves at the club. So he's going to be a regular starter for us. It's a lot of money. It's not the deal I wanted to do, but it's a player who I know I should get my money back on. And with a deal that's lasting for how many years was it? 2010. So he's got a 3-year contract. We can sell him in 2 and still get our money back, hopefully. Now, the last signing is where I think I might have panicked a little bit too much because I've brought in a loan signing in a position that wasn't a priority, but I thought would be an improvement. And that man is Kasper Schmeichel from Manchester City. Now, he is better than the goalkeepers we've got. There is no doubt in that whatsoever. But we have 2 good young keepers in Grant and McGregor who are now going to be stunted in their development. McGregor's not able to get a loan out. Grant will become the backup. The good news is if we go back down again the year after, there's no commitment longer term. It's a very small wage. He's a very good keeper. And I just sort of figured in the Premier League, you're going to need someone who's exceptional there because you're going to give away a lot of chances. So Kasper Schmeichel is my young hope to save us in that position. Add to that, we've also brought in a few staff as well. Lots of scouts coming into the club. And in fact, I'll show you it on this screen so you can see how many we've got. Staff in this summer, we have got Nicky Sullivan, decent scout of 59. Thomas Linker, a young coach who will hopefully offer something. Nigel Martin is our new assistant manager, replacing club legend Brian Steen, but he's got better attributes and we needed another keeper coach. George Foster comes in as a scout, pretty good at what he does, and Robert Turner exactly the same. We had also brought in a couple of replacement scouts late last year when we lost people, and we've had to pay a bit of compensation for them, but Brian Greenlaw is a scout who was decent from Burnley. Carl Larriman, a name you might recognise, is a pretty decent scout as well. And then we got one from Belgium just to increase the scouting knowledge across the board. Hopefully in the future, it'll become half decent. But look at the staff out, just because I don't think I showed you it. We lost Bob Pearson to Reading for a few £1,000s. We lost David Jarrett to Middlesbrough. And then Brian Steen got released. So it's not been the perfect summer. I couldn't even go back and list to you what players we've missed out on because honestly, you don't want a 55-minute episode. It was ridiculous. We have tried to sign so many players. I've tried to be bold like I was with Anton Ferdinand. I probably offered 4 or 5 players more than £1 million. And unfortunately, we've lost out on all of them. So Ferdinand, the only one we've managed to get in. There were a couple of little deals we turned down. So Jason Kennedy being one. It was him or Ferdinand. We couldn't afford both. And of course, with our budget up now with players being sold, we are still on the lookout. And my shortlist is still growing. It's pretty big at the minute. Let's go and have a look, though, at the team because there are a few players we want to get out of the club that we've not been able to yet. You can see McGregor's loan listed as a keeper. The likes of Baxter, Giroud and Galula, Chris Brunt, who's not going to fit in our new setup, all listed for loan too. And then we're trying to sell the likes of Newton, Edwards and Davis. Edwards got 1 year left on his deal, can't get a work permit. Newton and Davis, not necessary now due to our new tactical setup, which is this. A 5-3-2, very much a defensive-minded tactic. And the only way I could think to protect us while keeping 2 up front is not too dissimilar to what Luton did in real life in the Premier League, except they had a second holding midfielder and then one a bit further forward. However, I just think it gives us the best protection. It seems in FM06 that there are a wide depth of central players you can bring in who are really quality. You mentioned last January we got Basagno in, who's now probably our best player. He's got to play somewhere centrally. We've now got O'Brien, Ferdinand, Coyne, all centre-half options, Heikkinen as well in there. Midfield-wise, we've brought in those 2 brilliant youngsters, but we've still got Nichols, we've still got Derry, we've still got Hughes, we've still got Michael Doyle who's come in, we've still got Keith Keane who's really impressing and improving. So I don't want players to miss out on football, and I don't want to leave us too exposed, which in the 4-4-2 I felt we were. The other thing, though, was that I didn't want to lose the opportunity to play 2 up front because with Pedersen coming in and Howard, I can't then not play with the target man. Howard's too slow to play on his own up there. And while they're not as good, they're not Premier League level, Feeney and Morgan are experienced players who are going to score goals for us. So hopefully we can keep them involved. So over the course of the season, we might end up going back because there's not a guarantee this will work. I'm not entirely confident that either way we've got the quality to stay up. But going into the first game of the season against Charlton today, this is what we're going to try and do. We're going to go and get our 11 picked. We're going to play in the same way. We're going to get the ball to the wing backs. We're going to get it in the box early. I do worry that we might not get as many crosses in for the likes of Steve Howard. But then you look at where the goals were coming from last year, and probably the 2 seasons of this save. More of them were coming from sort of long balls forward and flick-ons, or from midfielders running beyond him, rather than coming from the actual crosses. So I think based on that, we're going to stick with this formation and just hope we don't get pushed back too much. If we have a look at the team report according to the assistant, Nigel Martin, obviously a better judge, you can see, I mean, he's a bit all over the place with some of it. But he does think we've got a chance of avoiding relegation. I mean, the fact that he's now got Davis as first choice left wing back and Baraji at centre half, despite the fact we've got Chris Coyne in and we've got other players like Heikkinen sitting there, does surprise me. In midfield, I think I'll probably set up slightly differently, and he's recommending Howard and Pedersen together up front, which we won't do. What I will do is play one of the quicker ones. Chris Coyne's rated 3-star there, so unless he only wants to see a left-sided player, I don't know, but it does seem a bit all over the shop. I should mention this guy as well, Brian Lake, who has come into the second 11 as a player who was through the youth academy last year. He's a left centre half at 15. He's electric quick. He's got some really nice attributes. I just wish it was his determination rather than his flair that was rated 20. But otherwise, someone to keep an eye on, a potential star of the future. So we'll keep our wits about us with him, and we'll maybe discuss him in the future. What it does mean is we're going to have more players sitting on the bench this year. We could have more unhappiness if we can't get rid of some of the deadwood from the club. But let's go and pick this squad, show you what we've got set up, and hopefully go through to what will be a respectable first game rather than a disaster, as the run afterwards, as I mentioned, is pretty torrid. The only real light in the tunnel in the early games is the home one against Birmingham, who came up in first place. Well, here we go as we look to build our season on set pieces and long balls again. Our 11 for our first game of the season sees 2 debutants in, I think, with a whole host of others on the bench, 2 more on the bench and 3 out of the squad. It is Kasper Schmeichel making his debut in goal, Anton Ferdinand in a back 3 with Chris Coyne and Andy O'Brien. The wing-backs are Kevin Foley and Sekou Baraji, one of them a bit more attacking-minded than the other. Nick Basagno is in as our holding midfielder. If it doesn't start well this season, the plan is that he will then drop in where Chris Coyne is, and then into midfield we'll drop Hughes in the holding role and put on like a Keane or a Maloney to be a bit more aggressive. But for now, it's going to be Basagno holding midfield, Nichols and Hughes in front of him, and then after that it is Warren Feeney and Steve Howard up front as we look to go with a Championship strike force into the Premier League season against Charlton. How many will we lose this game by? Get your comments down below and we'll find out the answer together. Well, here we go into the Charlton game with Darren Bent giving pace up front. Anton Ferdinand will be needed here. Luke Young, at the time he was an England international. A midfield 3 of Holland and Murphy joined by Stilian Petrov. Herman Hreiderson, a giant at left back. There are a few weaknesses in the team, most notably at centre half, but they've got Dean Kiley, who obviously went on to be a Luton player briefly, and Jefferson Farfan, back when he was a proper wonder kid at just 22 years of age. Quality all over the bench, quality all over the squad. This is going to be a long day. Let's just see how it goes. We've also set up long throws for this season. Basagno's not bad at them. The hope is, oh my God, El Kakori has just hit a shot. Now, he used to be famous for hitting the odd long one in, but that one was a little bit of a tiddler. Just deflected off Coyne and over the keeper into the goal. I'm not sure why the keeper was so advanced, but it's not worked out for us there. A slow start. I can't even remember what I was saying now. I think I was saying I'd set up the long throw as well, hadn't I? But whether we get any opposition's half to test that or not, very different question. Baraji probably going to get an early yellow here. Adapting to that slightly more defensive role. Foley looking to go a bit more aggressive. Neither of them really natural at it. It is a gamble in an era where not a lot of teams played the back 3. And in FM, it was always pretty difficult. But I think it's the best chance we've got. You know me, we try and be realistic. Bit concerned that Danny Murphy has just leapt above Anton Ferdinand there. With 15 gone, we are on the attack though. Basagno takes a short throw. to Steve Howard, into Basagno again, finds Kevin Nichols, chance to shoot, just over the bar. Feeney was there, ready to poach on a rebound. Finally, a little bit of an attack. But we're back on a defensive trail now, though. Kevin Foley closing down, forces it inside to Murphy. Good challenge from Ferdinand. Feeney loses out, but it's Basagno to Howard, who can hold up the ball. Will he find someone? He does. Luton advance with Hughes to Feeney. Hughes over on the left. There's two unmarked. Baraggi will run onto it. Options in the middle. Baraggi to the byline. Look for Steve Howard. Look for Foley. Arriving at the back stick, but it's cleared away. And now Garvin can counter. Darren Bent's up there, but Basagno does well. I don't really remember him from back in the day when he used to play FM06, but he looks like a proper wonder kid. But been outshone by Freddie Adu, I guess, who we did try and sign in the summer, incidentally. Good save by Kasper Schmeichel there. With a quarter of the game gone, Charlton at a better side. We've had a couple of half chances. What we are going to have now, though, is both wing-backs on a booking. And they're awfully exposed out there because most games this season, it's going to be 2-on-1 for them. Charlton have had 7 shots, we've had 1. But we are creating, and that's the main thing. As Murphy crosses, O'Brien heads away. Feeney's up there on halfway. We've tried to leave 2 up where possible. And he goes for the big switch to Baraggi. No support for him, but he's going to go in there alone. Cuts inside, beats 2. Brilliant play. Shot's not on target, but it's a lovely counter. We've offered a little bit of a threat again, which is a positive. Half an hour gone. It's only 1-0, and it's a deflected strike. Although Darren Bent's in, it might be 2 now. Great save, Kasper Schmeichel. You could argue, yes, we're unfortunate to be behind because of the way the goal went in. But you could also say Darren Bent's had 2 1-on-1s that have been brilliantly saved. As Danny Murphy goes to fortune, we've got everyone camped inside our own half. Again, just waiting for that counter, but no real opportunity now. As Bent's in the box, Ferdinand does brilliantly. Feeney can't get there though. Hariderson finds Farfan. Why have Charlton signed so many good players? Hariderson down the left-hand side. Cross is deflected again. Good touch from the defender. It's deflected into Farfan though. Basagno clears. It's going to be a long old season, isn't it? Foley given a warning already on his yellow card. And with 2 minutes of stoppage time played, I think that commentary's fair. It's comfortable for Charlton. They're not brilliant, but it's comfortable. And our front men are a little bit isolated. So I'm going to say I expect better and hopefully get a response. But ultimately, what do we expect? We're playing against a solid mid-table team away from home. You'd probably expect to be 1-0 down. There's a corner kick for Charlton with Danny Murphy. And that's been our main problem today, as it's off the line. We've not been able to get on the counter. And that's where we can showcase our threat. If we can win set pieces, if we can get the ball upfield. We've left Feeney and Baraggi as the pace on halfway. But we haven't had enough chances from it. Here is Feeney. Just a bit slow, but he does get the ball away to Baraggi. I think Hariderson's played him onside, but it's overhit. It's out for a goal kick. We've got to make the most of those. And at the moment, we're just not. Steve Howard's going to get a yellow card now as well. I think we might have to look at something a little bit different. Uriah Rennie refusing to book a Charlton player. And it's a corner kick for the host. In towards Petrov. Goes up and wins the header. I'm going to make the first change. As I expected, Feeney's looking a little out of his depth up there. I'm going to take him off and replace him, not yet with Henrik Pedersen. I'm going to go for Sean Maloney because it gives us the option if we equalise to then play a box midfield. I know it's a bit narrower, but then play with a number 10 instead of a striker. I will do Howard for Pedersen soon, but let's see this attack with Ferdinand to Hughes. Out to the right to Kevin Foley. Chance to cross, but he's closed down and forced backwards. It's really poor, but he does find Ferdinand, although it's overhit, and now we're in trouble. Basagno can't get there. Farfan can break away. Basagno's going to have to do the covering. Bent gets down the line. Good closing down out there from Ferdinand. It's back into Herman Hariderson. Cross finds Petrov. Great save. And again from Schmeichel. Really good goalkeeping from Kasper. He's saving the day a bit there. Let's go for the magic man. Henrik Pedersen for Steve Howard. I've then only got one more sub. I think it's going to be Keane for Foley. I just don't want either of the academy players to get sent off on their Premier League debut. So one replacing the other will hopefully prevent that. There's 20 minutes remaining. Can we create that one chance? That's all we're looking for. As Keith Keane gets a yellow now, the wing-backs are definitely getting exposed, aren't they? There's 10 minutes remaining. It's a Kasper Schmeichel goal kick. And Maloney is not the man we want to target there. Darren Bent holds the ball up. He's forced back to Luke Young. But that's 2 England internationals we're talking about. Baraggi's nicked it off the latter though. And Hughes releases Pedersen, who's got a bit more pace up there. I'd still prefer him in the middle, but he finds Baraji, who's behind Luke Young, and in one-on-one, Sekou Baraji saved, and Maloney can't get there first. Oh, that's the chance Feeney would have wanted all game. And it's fallen to Sean Maloney, who can't quite make it. But Sagno commits a very cynical foul on the counter, and he'll get a yellow as well. But that was the chance. That was the one. Baraji's looked a real threat down that left-hand side. With 5 to go, looks like it's going to be a difficult day as Thomas crosses in the sub. El Kakori's up. Good save to Ambrose. Brilliant save again. And Anton Ferdinand clears downfield. It has been all Charlton. But can we create as Baraji finds O'Brien up towards Pedersen, the target man. That's what we wanted. Great flick for Maloney. First time shots high and wide. But there are little green shoots, aren't there? There's signs of promise. As Keane throws in, it's not going to reach Maloney. Garvin intercepts for Petrov. Can't win the challenge, but it's straight at Schmeichel. Look, we're only 1 down. We're not going to stay up on goal difference this year, are we? So, with 3 minutes injury time, I know it probably won't make a difference. Let's just go a little bit more aggressive. Have a go. See if we can surprise them on a counter-attack. Can we just create a couple of set pieces? No, we can't. A 1-0 win for Charlton. A pretty comfortable day. If we're being honest, Kasper Schmeichel was the man of the match. And that tells you exactly how this game has gone. They had 17 shots. We got opened up at will. But we did have 1 or 2 chances. So there's opportunities in the future to improve. Ultimately, though, as we said pre-game, we're probably not good enough. We're going to need some late panic in the transfer window. But we've missed out on so many players. I just don't know what the best route is. Let's have a look, though, at the inbox because Schmeichel was brilliant. Ferdinand made a poor start. We shouldn't pay attention to one performance. It's good to see him in a Luton shirt. But for most of these players, it was, a Premier League debut. And it wasn't a disaster. I could have expected worse. Let's have a look at the fixtures for a minute. It's going to be back. I think, have we not got an international break? Doesn't look like it in September. I think we'll probably come back for Birmingham at home and the end of the transfer window. I know it's very soon, but Birmingham came up with us. And I know they won the league by about 15 points. But they are one of the few sides at home we can genuinely expect to get a result against this year. We'll then maybe caveat that with a double header against tougher teams a bit later on. But Birmingham at home, I'd argue our first winnable game of the season. Can we go and get something out of it? Can we get some more signings in at the end of the window? I hope you'll come and join me to find out. A very tough start to the season, but again, you go back to the first game of this saved. It looked like we had no goal threat. It looked like we were going to create nothing, and then it just flipped a few games in. It's a new tactic. It's not going to be instantaneous, but are we going to start picking up points? And can we find some more players? And can we find some that aren't going to be poached by other clubs? That's the biggest question. If you want to stay up to date and find out, and you did enjoy this Premier League debut and transfer special, please do chuck a thumbs up on the video. A story of frustration in a transfer market and on the pitch in the end. If you want to see if we improve in the future, then please do subscribe, turn that notification bell on, as we will have plenty to come and plenty to show from this Premier League campaign with Luton, which at the moment looks like perhaps being a solo one. We'll continue every weekday at 4:30, so make sure you come and join us tomorrow and Friday as we get our teeth sunk in to a Premier League campaign with Luton Town. I hope you'll come and join me for it. I hope we'll have more signings to introduce too. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at the same time tomorrow.